Hi, it's Jay back with another video. Today I will be talking about some of the decks in my collection that are hashtag too pretty to read with, a tag created by Mystic Paws Tarot. And I don't have a ton of decks that fall into this category, but I did enjoy the thought of discussing like the thought process behind having decks that are too pretty to read with. And so this is something that I have definitely struggled with over the years of just having things that I love that are beautiful and then wanting to save them and keep them nice. And it's something that I've had to actively work on with my tarot decks. And I feel like for the most part, I've gotten over the like saving it mentality or not reading with it because it's so nice and special and wanting to keep it that way. Especially when I think about like rehoming decks, because obviously if a deck, you know, has some wear on it, it might not get as much in the secondhand market, but you know, like I buy my decks because I want to use them and have them be an impactful part of my self-care and spiritual practice. And if I don't use them, then they're not accomplishing the goal that I've set out to reach by purchasing them in the first place. And so while I do have like a small handful of decks that I still like have to work on this thought process with, in general in my collection, I like being able to use my decks and read with them. And that's also why I try to keep my collection on the smaller side. And so to kick this video off, I just wanted to show a deck that I have shown here before, which is the Carrottarts Tarot. And the reason that I'm showing this deck is because this is the deck that I love the cardstock the most in my whole entire collection. And while the colors are definitely my style and I love the illustration, the main thing that I love the most about this deck is the cardstock. And so sometimes I'll just be like watching TV and shuffling this deck, or just like sitting on the couch handling the deck. And through that process of reading with this deck and just the amount that I've handled it, it's got like a good amount of chipping on it, and it's got some of those like floxed edges that show wear. And this is something that I have come around to really love in my tarot decks. I feel like it is a sign that I am getting the full value out of my decks. I am using them, reading with them, handling them, enjoying them. And, you know, it's just something that has become extremely important to me. So I did want to show this deck because this is like my anti too pretty to read with deck. This is the deck that I like throw around and beat up a little bit, and like give it love. Anyways, the nail polish that I'm wearing today is the same as before, Bluebird Kitty Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. And my scent of the day in honor of this video is 1111 Vanilla by Lake and Sky. The notes on this perfume are sea salt, star apple, vanilla cream, marshmallow, passion flower, sheer amber, skin musk, and teak wood. And I picked this perfume because it kind of, for me, represents the same idea of like holding on to things because we are too afraid to use them. I love this scent so much, and like I find myself not wanting to use it because I don't want to like waste it on a non-special occasion. And so I am trying my best to consider every single day a special occasion, and in doing that, use the things that I have and love more. So I sprayed this today, and it's definitely a sweet musky vanilla, which is right up my wheelhouse. And it just gives like a comforting, like nostalgic vibe, almost like a teacher that was really nice to you in grade school. So that's my scent of the day. Now, for the decks that are actually too pretty to read with, the reason why you're here is for me to show the decks that I feel are too pretty to read with in the number one spot, and the deck that will always probably have this number one spot is the Sistine Tarot by Rose Bay. This deck, just by virtue of how limited the print run was, what became very special in many people's collection, and for me it's no different. I feel like the truly reverent nature that it holds towards Rose Bay's grandmother and everything that went into the creation of this deck just lends itself to it being a very beautiful, meaningful deck. And because the cardstock on Make Playing Cards does tend to chip, I've been extremely, extremely gentle when I use this and when I shuffle with it. I cherish this deck and I treat it that way. And it's not that I don't cherish my other decks, I truly do, but this one holds such a special like reverence to it that I can't shuffle it the way that I shuffle my other decks. And for that reason, she's a deck that's too pretty to read with. That being said, I do read with it. I do read with it often, and I just am more gentle with it than my other decks. Another deck that I have that is too pretty to read with is the Fantastic Menagerie Tarot. And this deck, again, I use this deck and I'm just like a little bit more gentle with my shuffling than some of my other decks. And that's because it has that cold foil stamping on it. And I want this deck to have a long runway. I want longevity because I love this deck so much. And so it's not that I don't use it, it's just that I use it in a gentle way. And because I am such a, I'm like a little bit rough with my shuffling, I only have a few decks in my collection that I'm gentle with, and this is one of them. I still shuffle it like normal. I just am just a little bit more, it doesn't seem like it, does it? But I'm a little bit more gentle with it than some of my other decks. The last in my collection that are too pretty to read with are, to me, a set that I keep together because I use them together. And so this is the Threads of Fate Weaver Tarot and the Threads of Fate Lumen Edition Oracle. So Threads of Fate recently announced that they won't be selling decks anymore. And this deck is unbelievably beautiful. Like, when I look at this, I just can't believe my eyes. Truly. Like, they have, the background is matte holographic, and the edging is this beautiful matte shimmery soft gilding, and the backs have the gold foil to them. So, man, like, I don't have anything else like this in my deck collection, and I don't know like who could make something as beautiful as this other than Threads of Fate. So I'm really sad that they're no longer going to be selling decks. These are the only two decks that I have from them, just because with these like simpler vector images, like I don't feel like I need to have every copy that they've ever put out. But I did feel like I needed to have this edition and this edition specifically. They are entirely my aesthetic with the holographic, sparkly, almost iridescent quality to them. And I'm super gentle with these decks. I don't read with them too often because I want to preserve their longevity. And now they're pretty much irreplaceable, unless you can find them on the secondhand market, this is how I would feel if anything ever happened to these decks. I do read with them. Like I said, I'm just super, super gentle, maybe even gentler than I am with Sistene. I don't know. I do use Sistene more than this, but so there you have it. Those are my decks that I have that are too pretty to read with, but you know, I read with them and they're part of my collection. I bought them because I love them. I want to use them, and it's definitely not something that has come naturally to me as a saver, as somebody who wants to keep my things nice. But I just thought this was such an interesting tag to have a little bit of discourse about, like, the decks that we hold near and dear to our hearts and the ways that we use them in our practice. All right, talk to you later. Signing out.